Now, there is actually one last thing that I want to discuss with you guys, and it has to do with this new path of non-violence that Thorfinn has chosen. Now, if you've been keeping up with the series, you know that he's been struggling with putting his past behind him, and the only way that he was able to do this was to now focus on living peacefully. And we see this internal struggle within Thorfinn where he's trying to figure out, how do I achieve peace for people without fighting? And we see this struggle where his friend even tells him, how are you even going to defend this peace that you've created without violence? Because at the end of the day, you're always going to have those enemies and those threats that are going to want to take away this peace that you've created. And while Thorfinn is going through this internal struggle, we see this one scene where Thorfinn is listening to the Bible being read out loud.
You have heard it said, you shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy. You've heard this to be a good and righteous thing. And yet, I say unto you now, love your enemies. Do good to them that hate you, and pray for those who persecute you, so that you may be sons of your Father who is in heaven. For he saw to it that his sun would rise on both the evil and the good.
Now, the interesting part about this verse that maybe a lot of you may have not realized is that loving your enemy doesn't always mean letting them do what they want, right? Love in some cases may actually look like violence. And the thing is that when we think about love in today's society, we think about always making the other person feel good, but this is not always the case. And I'll give you a perfect example here, and this is what we're seeing with Thorfinn in this fight, is that sometimes loving your enemy means stopping them from hurting somebody else, from committing an even greater sin than they already have. I'm really enjoying the way that the anime has incorporated Christianity and some of the themes of Christianity within the story and these characters, and I'm just curious to see how they're going to fit these in. And above all, I'm curious to see how accurate they're going to be with the interpretation of these texts. Alright guys, well, I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope that it was helpful, and as always, I just want to remind you that we must persevere.